All right then, welcome to another edition of our weekly panel show, the Sunday Bunch. Way!
Fantastic, lads.
Once again, before we start, we've got to give a big shout out to George and the team at the Hastings Hill who allow us to set up our studio here to do this recording. So a big thank you to George and the team at the Hastings Hill. On the panel this week then, over on the end, we got Jacob Kirkbride. There he is. Michael Bowers.
Back again, guys.
Myself, Phillie. And sitting in this week, because the Mad Mistake can't make it, we have Nathan Cowan, better known to the YouTube fans as Mackem FC.
Woohoo! Get the rave on.
Mad's basically hanging out with us, just to get a dig in there straight away.
Because we got Nathan on, we have got a swear box down here as well. Because my mum watches this, so I'll apologise now, Mum. So that's Nathan's swear box for down there.
It's going to be used quite a lot.
It's going to be hot fuzz style. This
So what we plan to do, of course, every week we discuss what's gone on in the match yesterday, what's up and coming, all things Sunderland, and that's what we do. We are going to eventually stream this live so everybody can interact with us, and you can ask us questions throughout the show as we do it. So it was another horror show yesterday down at Portman Road. It was Ipswich 1, Sunderland 1. Before we start to analyse that, we did do some predictions last week. The Mad Mistake predicted 2-1. What did you predict?
Same score.
2-1. And what did you predict?
I said 1-0.
And you did 1-0. And I take no joy in saying that. I said 1-1. But shocking. So where do we start then? Who wants to go first? Jacob?
I mean, there's so many things you could pick out from that game yesterday. I mean, overall, just absolutely appalling. I mean, I know we got a point at the end of the day, but it's almost like, might as well say that the fans are happy that they got the point, considering how poorly the team played the other day.
Well, I would have taken a point all day before kick-off, and we got the point, but I'm still unhappy because the performance was absolutely dreadful.
I mean, you can't ignore it, can you? I mean, I think you said horror show earlier, which is such an understatement there. I think it's no exaggeration to say that was probably the first 45 minutes was certainly the worst I've seen under Jack Ross. I know I'm not alone in saying that.
Yeah, I agree.
We couldn't get going, could we? We were just... Passes were misplaced. Defence was all over the place. I had no idea I don't know if any of you guys, what was the strategy? What was the formation? What was the system? What was the tactics? I have absolutely no idea. To get a point when we didn't play well against a team who I think will win the league, fine. But there's results, fine. But the performance, you can't ignore. The first hour we were shocking.
I don't think the players knew themselves what formation they were playing yesterday, to be honest.
That speaks volumes.
Nathan, what did you think then?
Well, just shocking, really. I mean, defence was all over the place. Don't fight in the swear box, I'm trying to. Defence was all over the place. Midfield, I don't know how we had as many passes as we did, to be honest. We had more pass than them, more pass accuracy. I don't know how we did it, because we couldn't even string to a pass together from what I seen. And attacking wise again, it was just shocking.
Do we know what formation we played, anybody?
Question mark?
With that being the second game of the season, it is very worrying, like signs, more or less.
I mean, I guess that Jack Ross kind of changed it to a back four second half, I think. Whatever he changed it to, we looked more solid defensively in the second half, the last half hour. But why did we start with that?
You had to tweak it, I think, when
he would have had to have done. Maguire would have got us a bit further up the pitch. In terms of formation, I have absolutely no clue what it was. And if the players don't know either, then what does that say?
What about Denver Hume? Thoughts on him? Because, well, I mean, he struggled yesterday. He just looked all over the place for me.
I mean, I don't know whether it was just a off day overall, but felt like once the game started, he didn't know what role he was meant to be playing. More or less, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but
it seemed the same with pretty much every one of the players, though, didn't it? I mean, the only person I could really say definitively who was where was McNulty, probably up front. But I don't know, because I looked at the team and I thought it could have been a 4-3-3, it could have been a 3-4-3, a 4-3-2-1. It could have been any variant of a formation whatsoever. I didn't know where 09 was playing. I didn't know what Dobson and McGeoch were doing. I don't know if it was a back, whatever. And it's funny because Mad Mistake last week mentioned it. Jack Ross overcomplicating the system and the formation. Yeah. It was never more apparent than yesterday. And that's the second game in a week in a row now that he's tweaked the formation. And we just seem to abandon whatever it was we're doing at the start and then switching to something else mid-match. I don't get it.
It's just, for us, and like I said, Mad Mistake last week said, like keeping it simple and letting people do their job. So if you've got a right back, be a right back.
Exactly.
You know, and so on. And instead of complicating this and, you know, trying to do multiple jobs when really, you know, the team still needs to gel, you know, together. So what formation would you play?
4-5-1.
4-5-1.
That's what we've always been good at, really.
Well, that's what we did most of last season. And, I mean, I was always screaming for sort of 2 up front. But, and again, the Mad Mistake last week stated that, you know, we played that system all last season, more or less. And then we get into this season and all of a sudden we're just messing about with formations. So, I don't know. I mean, do we actually then Lee Cattermole going? Is he now a bigger miss than what we first realised? Me personally, getting him off the books was a major thing, because you know, look at Bolton Wanderers at the moment, right? And you know, we could have been in that position, and I did think that getting rid of Cattermole would have then, I was happy for him to go, get the wages off the books, but I wanted then him replaced with, you know, 2 or 3 decent people who could still come in at a lesser wage bill than he was on. And, you know, I wasn't worried the fact that he'd gone. I thought, well, fair enough, we've freed up all this extra cash. But yesterday, I'm now thinking, you know,
you could tell we had no bite in midfield, though, couldn't you?
You know, it could be a bigger miss than I thought he was going to be.
I would say the same with George Honeyman, actually. I think that for all that Honeyman's got his detractors, one thing I think that he wouldn't have allowed the midfield to get overran as it did in the first hour of the game. And Cattermole, like you said yourself, I was kind of the same with you in that Cattermole's wages, there was no way we could sustain that in League One again. Same with Oviedo, but we're missing now.
Certainly. A lack of leadership running through the team at the minute. I mean, considering the fact Jack Ross made Ledbetter captain and he hasn't featured once. He didn't even come on the pitch yesterday. So
it's worrying that he makes him captain and doesn't even play him yesterday. Which I know that to a point, the criticism towards Honeyman was captain is undroppable, which is far from the case. But if you're going to make Ledbetter captain, then shouldn't he really feature in the next game? Then McGeady was made captain, wasn't he?
Your captain can't be like, if Jack Ross thinks Ledbetter is going to be a squad player this season, then he shouldn't be captain.
Yeah. So what about Ipswich, Nathan? What do you think about them first half?
They played alright. They were better than us. They stopped us having any shots the first half, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which is alright. They're going to be someone that's going up there for the title. We're going to be miles away from it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought we was very lucky only to be 1-0 down.
Agreed.
In the first half. And to be honest, it's not that I thought that Ipswich were super brilliant. It's just that we were absolutely dreadful. And like you said, I think probably the worst 45 minutes of Jack Ross's reign so far, really. We were just dreadful, giving the ball away. How on earth, we didn't concede more?
I know it's utterly, but I mean, I said last week, and I'll say it again, keeping clean sheets, people again do not realise how big that is for the team. If you keep a clean sheet straight away, your chances of winning the game are drastically improved, because then all you need is 1 goal to win. Now, you want to score more than 1 goal, right? That's fair enough. But I mean, if you look at the goal we conceded yesterday, there was at least, for me, I thought that Conor McLaughlin especially was shocking. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, by the way, but for me, he's just an example.
But you have, so right.
Yeah, I have, yeah, pretty much, yeah. Sorry, Connor, you won't be watching this video. No, but it's just there was in the build up to the goal, the throw in came into the box, and McLaughlin could have easily put his head onto that and cleared it. Didn't do it, bottled it, and then whoever it was, Willis and Flanagan, didn't track Garbutt's run, or someone should have been on him at all times. And then McLaughlin got beat fairly easily, but it was all over the place.
I think the keeper should have done a lot better with that as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, Just like the angle of the shot as well.
I mean, you shouldn't be getting beat as near post like that, but it should have been stopped in the build.
I mean,
as well.
what I found like as the game went on, like the lack of communication between John McLaughlin and his defenders just.
I mean, that's worrying, isn't it?
I mean, there was a period where I think we had like a short free kick just on the edge of the box, and it was taken quickly, and then one of the Ipswich forwards nicked it off Willis straight away and almost scored.
I mean, in terms of what you were talking about with Ipswich, I think Ipswich, like you said, Ipswich weren't particularly brilliant. I mean, no team in League One's going to be, but all Ipswich did was get in our faces, press, pass the ball, communicate, simple things. And like you said, we should have been probably 2-3-0 down at half time at least. And it was only thanks to Ipswich wasting chances that we probably got anything out of that game.
Do you think Ipswich will be up there or thereabouts then?
I think so, yes. Paul Lambert's as good a manager as they come in League One.
If that's, like, especially people were saying this on social media, if that's the best team that's going to be like fighting right up there at the top of League One towards the end of the season, then it's worrying, more or less. Like, if we just sort out a couple of attacking problems that we have in the team at the minute, then we could like be firing cylinders. But
we're only a couple of adjustments away, aren't we? I think.
But again, as it has been with Sunderland so often, it took us until sort of we scored, or sort of 60 minutes in, before we then started to play. And I don't know if it's because in the second half, Ipswich sort of sat back a bit and let us come on to them. But once we got the goal, we actually started to look like we maybe have a chance of sticking one in. But again, why we have to, typical Sun, we all, we started going behind again. 15 minutes in, are we keeping you awake?
Oh dear.
15 minutes in,
isn't it?
15 minutes in, we're 1-0, mountain to climb again, and it's just taken us so long to sort of get going.
Me summing it up there. So, I mean, just the football in general. I mean, it was a very painful game to watch the other day. I mean,
it was.
The quality between both sets of teams wasn't fully on point, and it's just. Yeah,
I think as well. Actually, there was one positive I could mention that in the mixer of it. I thought McNulty for the goal was excellent. I love the way that he just ran. Or was it Chambers or whoever it was? The Ipswich centre back, whoever it was. He
wanted to see the ball out, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But it was great. McNulty done exactly what he should have done. Gone, pressed, won the ball back, held it up excellently, and brought Gooch into play to score. That was absolutely brilliant. But again, like you said, why we shouldn't be waiting until the 60th minute or the 65-hour mark to start going at it. We should be doing that from the off.
On that point, then, positives from it. Man of the match, anything like that? Who was your sort of standout man, if anybody? Best of a bad bunch?
Probably McNulty, the best, I'd say. He set up the goal, he caused a few problems for them. There's nothing really. You can't really see anybody.
09 wasn't too bad, I think, when he moved further up the pitch. Instead of playing on the flanks, I think he looked pretty good. He started to communicate with midfield a lot better. Dobson was okay. I think obviously we've got to see a lot more from him. I still think he's got tremendous potential. McNulty, I think when he did have the ball, he wanted to make things happen. I mean, you could argue the same after Gooch scored the goal. He wanted to make himself he was trying hard. To be fair, compared to maybe a few who just lacked a lot in confidence.
I originally said on Twitter yesterday I thought John McLaughlin had an alright game, but when I look back at the goal, it wasn't exactly. He didn't cover himself in glory, did he? Probably the same. McNulty. I mean, I said McLaughlin by default of after the goal not making a massive mistake or not looking horrendous like most of the team did, which I know isn't a very strong. It's a very strong man argument, but no, probably McNulty just purely for the goal. At least he tried to show for the second week in a row. He was the one that was at least trying to make things happen, trying to string things going, trying to get people into play. And it's just amazing how, if we could just get people around him to help him straight away, I think it would make a difference going forward.
Well, they had a poll, I think it was, on the on Sunderland's Twitter page, and I think Gooch was way out in front for people's man of the match. Now,
that'll only be because he scored.
Well, yeah, possibly. And see, I was going to give it to McNulty, and purely on the fact that, like you said, what he did for the goal. That goal was all about him getting in there, not giving up, persisting, getting the ball, and then Gooch had a tap in. And then Gooch, of course, quite rightly, as you said, after he'd scored the goal, was then, wanting to try and make something else happen. But as per usual, see, for me, Gooch always has to do too much. He always has to go that bit further and then ends up losing the ball or whatever. And I'm shouting at the telly yesterday going, oh, go on, do it yourself again, all yourself. Oh, there you go, you've lost the ball.
That's what he is, though. I said how many times I said this to Jacob a few times, for example. So many times last season was exactly the same problem, that Gooch thinks he's Messi or Ronaldo of League One, and he's not. He's got to get into his head that he's not that level. He's not able to do that because he's got no end product and his game intelligence isn't good enough. You've got to realise that it's a team game and try and bring other people into play. If you've got an opportunity, if there's no one else around you and your best option is to go for it, fine, got no problem with that. The worst you can do is miss it. But if you're too selfish and you're thinking it's about you, and I'm not saying Gooch, I'm not trying to suggest Gooch is a selfish individual. But as a player, he probably is. Yeah. He thinks it's about, like you said, I think it's about him. He needs to get that into his head that it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, another frustrating thing about Gooch that I find, the amount of stupid fouls that he gives away, especially on the edge of the box that could lead to the opposition scoring, is just absolutely shocking.
The sad thing is the fact that he can beat one or too many. He's got that in his locker, but then he always has to go, keep going, and he loses the ball. Whereas there's many times you think, stick it in now, do it now, or there's someone else better positioned, and he just doesn't do it. And I think if he maybe watched what was going on around him a bit more instead of wanting to do everything himself, I think, he could be a good asset for us, really.
The thing is that one point you made to me yesterday was because Gooch is our top goal scorer and scores, he's probably cemented his place in the team for the next game, though.
Yeah, possibly. Well, it's one of them things, again, I'm happy to have a player in the team who does nothing for 89 minutes if he sticks a goal in.
Enough.
But Gooch is just frustrating like I said, every time I watch it, I'm like, here we go, go on. There you go, same again.
Start of last season. I'll tell you what, start of last season, though, he was very good. That's the biggest thing for me that's frustrating. But in fact, pretty much before he signed the contract, he was electric. He was terrorising people left, right and centre.
And then put pen to paper, just all.
It's the curse, isn't it? It's the curse, isn't it?
Right, so it was a pretty poor performance then by, most of the team anyway. So, Nath, who would you drop then if you had to drop somebody for the next game? Is anybody deserves kicking out the team?
Well, they're all as bad as each other. I can't see anybody out, to be honest.
It's hard to argue with that in a minute.
I would drop Denver, but then again, we haven't got another left back to come in because Jack Ross has said, we'll let Reece James go. When Brian Oviedo's already out the door, everyone knew that.
How did you think Flanagan did then yesterday?
Absolutely shocking.
That sums it up.
I think Darren, 65-year-old, 24 stone, is probably better than Flanagan.
Shocking.
The sad thing is, he probably isn't wrong. Yeah. How Flanagan? Can anyone tell me how Flanagan gets into that team at the minute? How does he get into that side? Ozturk ended last season. Well. He ended last season well, though, didn't he? And then Jack Ross doesn't even play him this year. Yeah. What's the deal with that?
Hit the nail on the head last week. Watching Flanagan, your nerves are kicking in straight away. You just feel like he's just going to make a mistake.
Exactly.
So are you saying Flanagan should be dropped then for the next game?
Easily.
Ozturk needs to come back in.
Ozturk's got his own deficiencies and his own restrictions. But what he is that I said last week that people in the centre-backs in this league are either tall, strong, physical, or a combination of the few of them. And Ozturk, while he's not got that much pace, will admit that, but Flanagan's not exactly much quicker. He's at least got a bit of robustness and a bit of no-nonsense sort of qualities to him. And I think if you combine that with Willis, I think you'd, like you said earlier, keep the game simple. I think Ozturk and Willis could be a simple but effective partnership at least. And that's if we're not going to bring another centre-back in within the remainder of the window.
So, you mentioned the window, which is still open for us. Stuart Donald made a comment on how we could profit, if you like, from the fact that the window's closed for the Premier and the Championship. So people who was probably wanting a move and haven't got that move now could think, oh, well, second best, I could go to the likes of Sunderland, a big club down in League One.
Playing in front of 30,000 and so on. Yeah.
So I think we all still probably agree we need a left back,
Definitely.
at least.
Main.
That's the least we need.
Is anybody on the market who you know of who you think would be, you know, I know last week we mentioned about Marcus Maddison.
If I had to pick anyone, I'd still say I still think we could. As much as I want Ozturk to come into the team, I'd like us to sign a better centre back. And I've said that Ben Hennigan from Sheffield United, who was at Blackpool last year, is someone who impressed me when he played against us last year. And I think that I can't imagine either Sheffield United will probably be content with loaning him again if he's still there, by the way, or if they sell him, it can't be for very much. But the question is, are we going to go out and do it? Is Ross happy with what he's got?
It's all down to commitment as well, whether these players actually want to come and play
it's
for the
true.
club.
How many centre backs have we got though?
Willis,
How many can I
Flynn,
find?
Ozturk.
Luvens. That's
I mean,
4 off the top of
we
my
haven't
head.
seen Luvens in months, but
I know you can't. I forgot.
I mean that's another thing we should touch about. Where could Luvens come in and do a job at this moment in time with the experience he has under his belt?
It'd be difficult to imagine him doing worse than Flanagan at the moment. Well, he could probably still do worse, but it couldn't be much worse at least.
Right, so
Conundrum
again,
watch.
after last week's game against Oxford, Jack Ross got boatload of
Got pelted,
shit.
didn't he? Yeah.
Sorry, ma'am, I'll put money in the swear box.
It's not even Nathan who did it this time.
But he got a lot of stick, and then it's as though it's out of control because people are now saying. Last week they were saying, 10 games and all this, and now people are saying
it's intensified.
It's got to go. Yeah. And I'd like to ask Nathan.
Everyone knows my opinions.
Nathan's opinion, because you wasn't here with us last week, so Nathan's opinions on Jack Ross.
Well, I think I would do a better job, to be honest.
When's your press conference, Nathan? Come on.
Next week. That's
when's your announcement?
No, I said at the end that when we lost the playoff final, I was coming out to Wembley and I said we should have gotten rid of him then and there. And there was a group of lads around me and they said, no, you're stupid, you know nothing about football, he's the best man for the job. Now, a few months down the line, we're coming into here, he's now all those lads are saying I'm right, we should have gotten rid of him then.
So you want him out tomorrow?
I want him out as soon as possible. But we're not going to do that, we're going to give him a few more games, and I've heard he's supposedly got about 6 games left, and that's it.
Is that from your insiders
on
the
inside?
inside?
A few inside little rumours.
Nathan's knowledge.
Mackem FC sponsors.
I don't know if it's a certain Mick Harford's supposed to be in contact about the job.
Right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how good your sources are.
£100 on it.
Has your Jacob, has your thoughts changed within a week?
Come on, let's have a clash.
I mean, I'd still give him a couple more games, but it's all about. I mean, the crowd at the minute are really starting to get on his back, which obviously I still stand by. We should stick through managers in tough times, like what Burnley have done with Sean Dyche and that. But obviously, we've touched upon we're in that era of football where it's common where there's a lot of managerial changes.
So are you saying you'd give him a couple of games now? Because did you not last week say you'd give him at the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean,
That's a big from the end of the season. A couple of games.
It's all, if the situation gets really, really bad, then I can understand why a change will be made. But I still like to stand by Jack Ross. Yeah,
I think managerial merry-go-rounds have got to be a last resort rather than what you want. Because I know you both particularly said you're not a fan of changing managers, and to a point, I agree. Definitely, it didn't help Sunderland's overall strategy long term. Yeah, you can say, we stayed in the Premier League and all that. Yeah, but then what we were doing the next year, exactly the same thing again. So it was an endless cycle of things. I do kind of get where Jacob's coming from. That I think that Jack Ross, I was different to Nathan at the end of last year. Not saying you don't know anything, but I am. At the end of last season, I was Ross in just because, again, like I said before, about what he had to deal with. Forget Charlton, forget Lee Boyer. But I'm struggling to defend him at the moment. Because he keeps on making baffling tactical decisions, and I know every manager does, but Ross's is getting more obvious by the week. and he keeps on playing players like Flanagan, who were woeful last week, who shouldn't have been in the team yesterday, and he was somehow, and he seems to not want to drop his favourites, and he changes formations midway through games. It just seems to me, does it suggest he knows what he's doing at the minute?
Well,
I mean, I hope he does. I'm praying he does, but
it's all about opinions, isn't it? It's. I mean, I'd said probably last week I would still not that I would give him to the end of the season. I think I find it hard to believe that Stuart Donald would sack him, but I definitely think he needs 10 games. I think on 10 games you can then judge it, but then you have to ask: if we wait 10 games, are we going to be so far off the pace then
we can't
that because I think we all agree it's got to be sort of automatic promotion this time. I mean, nobody really wants to go to Wembley again.
No. The only way you'd go through the playoffs again is if you could guarantee me you're going to win them.
Yeah.
Can it? It's in two.
I mean, if it was the checker trade in Wembley, that would be a different scenario, but definitely not the playoffs.
So do you think then...
Leasing.com trophy, by the way.
I don't even know what it's called these days.
That's what it is.
No.
It's a leasing. No, I mean, you're right in what you say, that promotion, whatever way you achieve it, has got to happen. I mean, if we don't get promoted this year, I'm trying hard not to be negative here, but it's getting quite difficult not to be. If we are stuck in this league again next year, we could be stuck here for quite a while, I think.
I just think that after 10 games, you then, you're in a fair enough place to sort of say, well, look, you've had 10 games, you've tried this system, that system, whatever. Really, if you get sacked now, he can't really complain if he's had 10 games. I think to sack him now, after 2 games, like everybody's saying, is just ludicrous. I think now, probably the likes of yourself will say, well, he's had 60 games last season and all that, and well, but
it's not 60 games for every one of the players, is it?
I can see where you come from though. He's got a new season, he's got new fresh players in. No, it's still sort of pre-season. We started far too late than everyone else.
I think that if you... Sorry, go on. I'll let you finish.
Well, I think you said about pre-season there. I thought that's not many games pre-season, but apparently the reasoning around that was because we finished the season so late and had the extra games, the playoffs and things like that. There was less time for them to sort of become unfit. They had less time off. So that was the reasoning around that, I believe. Michael?
Yeah. No, I would argue that a year ago with the pre-season, I think I looked at the games, the official games we played, and there was not much difference in between the 2 pre-seasons and how many games we actually played. But I do agree with you that if fitness is a problem, then we should have had more games. I mean, with Ross, what you said about the 10 games thing, I do kind of get that, but in those 10 games, are we going to see improvement? Are we going to see, if we'd have, say for example, we drew yesterday, right? And it was the other way around. We battered Ipswich and were unlucky not to come away with a win. You could then say, okay, it was 1-1, but at least you could sense that we were going to go in a certain direction. I don't know. Look at Portsmouth next week. I mean, just forget Accrington for a minute. If you look at Portsmouth, what are they going to do? They're going to come up here and they're going to make the game ugly, physical and hard. And if we're not prepared to combat that, then what are we going to be doing? What's the strategy going forward?
It'll be a Pompey team full of confidence as well.
Yeah,
so
and they'll be motivated as well.
Yeah.
I just think I'd like to give him 10 games, and I agree with what you're saying, how had yesterday we battered them and got a draw. I think everybody, there'd have been no complaints, I think, because they would have said, a draw at Ipswich, fair result, played really well, positives and stuff like that. And but it's the fact that we played so badly. And my only thing is, I would like to give him 10 games. However, how far off the pace will we be? And last week, I think you mentioned about Luton being where?
It was like mid-table, something like 10th or 11th.
And when was that, about December?
October.
October.
So if you think the 10-game period, it's round about end of September, start of October.
Right, okay. So we could probably give him 10 games and still not be too far off the pace. If I thought he was going to get 10 games, then get sacked, and was then way out of it, then, my opinion...
It just takes one good run in this league to change everything.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. It's Charlton, look at example. I mean, Charlton ended up going up, and they weren't really on a good run till the last quarter of the season. But we don't really want a result of that, though, do we? We want to try and make sure that we're up there, and we give ourselves the best chance of getting top 2.
Right. Well, we'll come on to Portsmouth in a bit.
Sure.
But obviously before that, we got Tuesday night at Accrington Stanley in the Carabao Cup. So what do we do with that? Do we completely change the team and, give the squad players a run out? Or do we use that game to try and put right what is obviously wrong with the team at the moment? So, do you want to start?
I think we could use it to put right in the team. But the problem is then if we had, say, for example, pick up an injury in the team and we gave something like that.
Yeah, but Flanagan might get injured.
Hopefully he does. I don't wish an injury on any player, but hopefully he does.
McGeady won't be risked. Not for
but
this
again,
game.
no, it's the cup games I'm not too bothered about. If you get knocked out with them straight away, that's fine. Because at least then you can just focus on your league.
You'll just want to go for your 5 bottles for a tenner, won't you?
I can't go. I'm skinned. I'm skinned.
I can't wait for my first Accrington Stanley experience on Tuesday.
Well, I've never been to Accrington, but me and Jacob are going down there on Tuesday. So what do you get? 5 bottles for what?
5 bottles for a tenner.
Oh, I'm driving.
Hey, you can get that now, can't you?
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait.
Is that how you're going to be going straight to the bar? Got 5 bottles for a
Most
tenner?
likely, yeah.
So, Jacob, what do you think team-wise? What would you do?
I don't think there'll be any harm, like chopping and changing. I mean, I'd quite like to see some of the squad players get a run out. I mean, this could, like with these squad players who haven't really featured the last 2 games, this could make a statement, like for them, saying to Jack Ross why I deserve my place playing in the league games. More or less.
Michael?
Kind of saying what Jacob said, really. I think a mixture of the two wouldn't hurt, but obviously the really key. But McNulty, I wouldn't risk. Could play Greg actually. It might be a good chance for him to try and get some form. McGeady, I wouldn't play. McLaughlin, John McLaughlin, I wouldn't play. But as Jacob said, not only is it a chance for squad players to sort of try and stake a claim in the first team, it's a chance for them to get fitness. Chance for them to get their fitness up, and then it really will enhance their chances of getting a place into the first team if they perform well.
And on a pitch like Accrington, I think fitness.
The pitch is horrendous, isn't it?
And, I mean, if the weather's bad, we'll take last season for an example, but the forecast on Tuesday is good for now. So.
And the thing is, I mean, it's not something we can really comment on because we don't know until we see what he's going to do. But Jack Ross, is he going to try and stay with this formation, which nobody knows where it is anyway?
I don't even get knows, to be honest.
And is he going to sort of stay with that, use different players, and maybe they'll adapt to it better, which could, like you said, they could then stake a claim for a place in the first team because they've adapted to this system better than others. Or is he going to use it to then experiment, go back to
the basics?
Like I said, the formation he used last year and stuff like that. How important do you think it is to win this game?
Jack Ross, not just the manager, the players need to make a big statement after the dreadful performance the other day. So, yeah, we need to win on Tuesday because I think if we go out and lose, the situation will just get worse in terms of what opinions people have towards the manager from our fan base.
It's that thing though. You can win it and give you that winning mentality, get your first win under your belt, or people are going to say it's the cup. We didn't go up last year because of the cup run and all the games we played. Just put it to one side. But if we do that and say, right, we're not going to concentrate on this, so we'll treat it, as an experiment. We can mess about with it. But then if we get beat off Accrington Stanley on Tuesday, there's going to be another fallout. They'll be like, big time. So how important do you think it is to get a win?
Psychologically, it is, but I don't think as many people would be bothered if we lost on. I think if we lost, but the performance was good, I think people wouldn't complain as much. I think people do because there's bigger fish to fry than Accrington. I mean, we've got Accrington in the league coming up in a month, and I'd much rather win that game personally. So psychologically for the players, yeah, it probably is important to win, especially ahead of Portsmouth. It'll be quite big, but I think if we were to lose, I don't think there'd be as big a fallout personally as what people are saying. I think it's just because people realise that it's not it's probably the last of our agendas this season.
If you were to say to me, we lose that game on Tuesday but beat Pompey, I'd snap my hands.
I would easily.
So Nathan,
I don't think it's as important. I think if we lose, I'll see it as a cup defeat, because for me, it's points that I want. I don't want a long cup run. If a cup run means nothing, if we don't get promoted, we can have a good cup run. That's brilliant. And for the cup run, but for promotion, it's not.
I know, but you could still argue that a cup run is good for morale, isn't it? And
It didn't us so well.
and another trip to Wembley to get beat, so we can all have a cry. And
It depends if you had another dozen games to your calendar, then.
It did us so well. They got last season, didn't it, and getting promoted.
all right then. So
Leasing.com.
what about some predictions then for Tuesday night, Jacob?
Go bold. I'm going to say 3-1.
To Accrington.
Joking, sure. No, 3-1 to Sunderland.
3-1.
I'm confident about Tuesday.
Michael?
1-0 Accrington. I can see us getting
Get
knocked
out.
out. I can see us getting beat. I wouldn't be overly bothered, but fire pelters at me, guys, for this. But yeah, I think we'll get beat.
Nathan?
2-1 Accrington.
Really?
It's not just me then.
Dear me. Right, well, my prediction for Tuesday night is
1-1.
3-0 Sunderland.
Oh, all
Get
right.
the positive
I just
mentality in the
think-
studio.
I just think it's gone wrong for us in 2 games, but we still have the quality we have there, and even putting the squad players in, I just think it'll come good. I hope I'm right.
It all depends what team you put out. If you put out a team of players that aren't going to feature, that aren't going to feature on Saturday, then it doesn't make much of a difference. I don't think there is extra time, by the way. I think it goes straight to penalties.
So straight to penalties.
I'm pretty sure it does. I think last season only the League Cup final went to extra time, but most games after 90 minutes went to penalties.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I'll take your word for it because you know everything.
Feel free to, anyone researching this, feel free to prove me I'm wrong, because I might very well be, but I'm sure it goes straight to
Though
penalties.
he never is. Michael knows everything.
Bigging me up too much there, mate.
No, you do, mate. Honestly.
Right then.
Cheers, bud. Appreciate it.
So we move on to Saturday's game.
Oh, God.
Massive game. Early kick-off. It's on Sky. Is it on Sky? I think it is.
12,
So,
Sky Sports cameras.
12:30.
so it's an early kick-off, which means you need to be at the wheat sheaf early.
I'll be
for the
there.
show.
Serving the brekkie.
So,
Like,
and we're playing Portsmouth, who are likely to be up there, hopefully with us, as it happened last season. It's not going to be an easy game. So,
Hopefully.
who wants to start us off?
Go on and I'll start.
Go on then.
It depends what way we come out like. If we come out exactly the same as we did against Ipswich, we'll get absolutely battered.
Do you think Portsmouth are going to come for the win, or will they be happy with a draw?
Oh, definitely they'll come for the win. Because they'll see us as, even though we're not there yet, they'll see us as a promotion rival. We're a big club. Every single club or team that's going to come up this year to Sunderland is going to want to win, because it's a big stadium. They'll want to shut us up. They'll want to shut all the fans up. They've never played in front of that many fans before. That's their cup final, and it literally is. I mean, watch the last year when they played us away. They had the commemorative mugs, didn't they?
Oh,
Jacob?
I'll be confident again. I'm going to say 2-1, late winner.
Oh, we're going for predictions
we're going
already.
already?
I just wanted to know what.
Straight in.
I just wanted to know what. How you thought, sort of. How you think they'll play.
Overall, my thoughts going into it, I'm so nervous, but I think it will be a scrappy game. It won't be the best of quality like the other day, but I still think next week will be our first win of the season.
So you're confident for that'll be all right,
Yeah, just.
Michael?
I think that Portsmouth, like Nathan said, I'd be amazed. I mean, they came up here for a point last time, didn't they? When they came up here in the league, when their keeper got McCallaway. Is it McCallaway?
McKillifray, I think.
McCallaway, we did it in our podcast.
It was a draw. Was a draw, wasn't it?
1-1.
1-1.
Yeah.
Shock. Every game's 1-1
Yeah.
at the minute. They came for a point then, which I don't know why. But I'd be amazed if they came up for a point in this game. I think because Portsmouth have kind of developed this petty thing against Sunderland like they did last year, for whatever reason it is. Probably because probably Nathan's fault because he ended up annoying a lot of Pompey fans in his
did.
vlog. So after the
Twitter.
Wembley final against them, in all seriousness, yeah, I'm nervous. It's going to be such a horrible game. I think it's going to be a really horrible game to watch. Whether we win, the pressure's on us now for this game, isn't it? Portsmouth got their first win last week, just the weekend gone, and they'll be thinking it's in our hands here because if we can, there's not much pressure on Pompey. I think if Pompey fans went up here and came and got away with a point, they wouldn't complain too much. But because we haven't won yet in the league anyway, the pressure's going to be ramped up and intensified.
I watched them in the League Cup game they had against Birmingham during the week, and they look very, very good. The signs they're showing if they're up against a mid-table championship team,
the only thing that I've got going, the only thing I'm half relieved about is we don't have to play against Jamal Lowe again when we play them anymore. But even then, they've still got
decent players.
They've got quality for this league, haven't they?
John Marquez.
He looks pretty good actually. So I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty nervous.
I know they won yesterday, didn't they?
2-0.
But did they get beat on the first
yes,
game?
they lost to Shrewsbury.
They got beat first game of the season.
Lost 1-0 to Shrewsbury.
So
Screamer of a goal, actually.
It's a difficult one to call because, we've got to address this conceding. If we didn't concede goals, if it was to take a positive this season so far, you do the unbeaten and we've scored in every game. Now, are we going to score in every game? Because if we can just stop conceding,
we win, wouldn't we?
Then we win. I think Portsmouth will be happy with a point coming up with Sunderland. As I think if we was playing at Portsmouth, I think we'd all be happy coming away with a point because we're going to be should be two evenly matched teams really. And again, it's just one of them who performs on the day. But I do think they'll be happy with a point, but I do think that they'll score as well. So.
I'd say one of the things that I would want to see, I just want us to pick a formation, pick players that suit that formation, and just keep the game simple. Like Mad Mistake said last week, how many times I've said that phrase in this already, but he's right though. If you can just get defenders to just do the job, keep the clean sheet, shut the door out the back, stop crosses coming into the box, close your man down, put your body in the way, have midfielders, have maybe one stay back to help the back line, have a majority of them go up, support the attack, get crosses into the box. McNulty, I think, could hold the ball up well. If we could pick a simple formation, a simple tactic, I think we would look better.
Make a stance, show that we're the home team.
Yeah, exactly, and show that we're and as well have us get in their faces. I am sick of watching Sunderland so many times getting bullied off the park by teams.
You take yesterday for you were fuming yesterday.
Oh, I was livid. and it's not Ipswich. Don't get me wrong. In context of League One, Ipswich are a pretty decent side, but when you're getting bullied at home by Oxford, come on, that's not good.
See, this is the problem with how the modern game is now. You lot won't remember because I'm just slightly older than you. But back in my day, you didn't have fullbacks running up the field to these wing backs things. A defender defended. Midfielders had their role and strikers had their role, and it went from back to midfield to from. That's how it was, and now you've got fullbacks getting right up the field and stuff like that. But that's the modern game. That's how it is. Some players are capable of doing that. Unfortunately, at the moment, I'm not sure that ours are. So that keep it simple.
Yeah.
Stick to what your role is.
Yeah. I know it sounds basic. It sounds incredibly basic, but Sunderland never have this knack of keeping the basic thing simple, do they? No. They always try to overcomplicate everything with it, and if we try to overcomplicate against Portsmouth will be rubbing their hands here and thinking we've got this.
He's got to get the lineup right as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And players, once they cross that white line, by the way, have got to perform as well. Players are not absolved of blame. Just
all right. In that case, then predictions for Saturday, Nathan.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Portsmouth.
2-1 Portsmouth.
I don't know.
Thank you very much, Nathan.
I just want to say.
Say I haven't swore once.
That's what I'm most amazed about the fact that you haven't
coming in the studio like Ozzy Osbourne.
Can we put the bleeper sound effect in every time we swear? So technically,
I can't believe it. I'm shocked. Only invited you on because I thought we were going to get some swearing. So you're saying, right, so you're saying 2-1 Portsmouth.
Yeah. 2-1 Portsmouth.
Jacob?
Can I ask a follow-up question for Nathan? Do you think Ross will be sacked then if we lose?
Pressure's definitely on then, because when I look at the first 3 games, I probably would have said about 5 points is okay, but if he's got 3, that's it. I think the pressure's massively on him.
Fair play, he didn't bite there. I was trying to get a bite out of him.
All right, so Jacob?
Obviously, I said 2-1 early, but I'm going to go for my goal scorers. I'm going to say McGeady, 1, and you know what, I'll say Lyndon Gooch again. He'll get 3 and 3.
So you're saying 2-1 Sunderland, yes?
Yeah, 2-1 Sunderland.
Michael?
I'm going to go with the score you went for Ipswich. 1-1. Another third consecutive 1-1 draw.
No.
Right. Well, I think 2-1 Sunderland I'm going to go. Likely to fall behind again after 15 minutes. But I just think, I think Tuesday, and even though it's probably going to be a changed team, I think, we'll get something there. And I think off the back of that, I just think, and then if we can get a win on Saturday, as fickle as football fans are,
yeah,
we've gone from this week where Jack Ross out and all that. If we win on, if we win Tuesday and we win Saturday, I think everybody will be like,
the mood will be
Jack
lifted,
Ross for Mayor of Sunderland and all that. Maybe not, but it'll change. Yeah. And even if a good performance, and if we got a draw against Portsmouth, even if we battered them and was unlucky, I think it's more acceptable than
you could see it building, couldn't you? If that happened.
Yesterday, as I said at the start, I would have taken a point all day long, but it was a point, and we was damn lucky to get that point.
It was definitely a point gain, wasn't it?
So
in the context of the performance,
yeah.
So I think you're right. If we were to beat Portsmouth, I think the mood would lift completely because again you'd expect Portsmouth to be up there.
Spur on a good run.
Hopefully.
Right then, what I'll do is last week we had a few questions for the panel, which people had asked us on YouTube and Instagram, and we didn't get a chance to get through them all. So we'll try and whiz through these quickly. We've probably got enough time to get them in. So if you didn't get mentioned last week, this is your bit.
Thank you for sending these, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
More work for me. Thanks very much.
He loves it, really.
All right, then just quickly, we'll go from the people on YouTube. Jake, SAFC, asked us, were we happy with the 5 signings we bought and anybody else we need? I know we sort of tried to cover what else we need, but you wasn't here last week, so are you happy with the 5 signings?
Yeah, I think they're all right signings, but we definitely need a left back.
Yeah.
And we need a creator in midfield as well. Madison, who's been mentioned, is probably that player.
I don't know Madison that well, and since last week, I've read a lot that he's got a bit of an attitude problem.
Those reports.
People are saying we haven't gone for him because of that. So, but I don't know how true that is. It was.
He still does the business on the pitch, so doesn't he?
Well, fair enough.
Stats.
I think
he's got goals in him.
You've got to get a balance right, I suppose. He's got goals and assists, though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's happy with the 5 signings.
I'm happy. Yes.
Yeah.
Jake, SAFC. Nathan's happy with the 5 signings. Right. 1X Manoni. Well, actually, we've got to say a big thank you to because he runs our Twitter page. So thanks to you for that.
Man.
What a name as well.
So what about then? What position do we need to strengthen the most?
Do we count left back as an option because that's too obvious, or do we have to pick something else? I think for me, it's either left back. It's left back. I'm going to cheat here. Left back and a creative midfielder, like Nathan said.
Wingers, people who can cut in and cross the ball, can get the ball into the box.
Nathan?
The same left back and creative midfielder.
So we've got one player. Let's say we've got one player who's going to come in now in the window. It's one player and only one player. What position should it be?
Left back.
Left back.
I'm going to go creative midfielder because I think you could promote a left back from the academy potentially.
It's got to be a left back. So 3-1. You
Oh, well.
lose. See ya. Bye.
I'm off, lads. See ya.
So Nigel Dunn, who's a friend of ours on YouTube. So hiya, Nige. Last season, some of our best players were provoked, so they got red carded and failed to take them off the pitch. How should the team deal with this? Should this happen again, sort of this season? And you got to take Max Power. I mean, how many cards did Max Power get, which ended up being rescinded?
Also, when Max Power's on that run of like getting bookings and sendings off, when he was slowly brought back into the team after being dropped, like the performances started to improve a little bit. So
I think we could do with Max Power being in that team actually. As far as the question goes, do you know what it is? And Jack Ross probably isn't going to want his players to do this. Try and do it back. Try and be smarter and anticipate that they're going to try and provoke you. Don't react and try and do it to them.
Right, Nathan?
Be the bigger man. Like he says, don't react to it. If you're going to get provoked, don't react. Because eventually something will happen and they'll end up getting sent off.
They'll look stupid, won't they? If they try to provoke you and don't react, they'll look like an idiot.
Right. Your mum? Or was it your mum? Or was it your mum? Anyway, your mum asks...
Whoever came up with that name, yeah.
Right.
your mum.
Who's our best player that's not McGeady? And we'll try and keep these short because we're running out of time.
Okay.
So, Jacob?
Chris Maguire.
Right now, McLaughlin. John McLaughlin. Yeah, definitely not
Nathan.
Connor.
Chris Maguire for Taunton outfield.
Right. I like McNulty, but it's too soon to call, really. But yeah, I like Maguire as well. I suppose we'll go for so how many for Maguire?
2, wasn't it?
Me and Nathan.
Oh, and I'll go Maguire as well.
Yeah,
so that's 3.
3.
So 3-1. You've lost again. I am.
Who would be like a close second? You reckon?
What?
A close second.
I haven't got a clue. I haven't got time for a close second.
Probably I'd say.
I'll go Maguire then for a close second.
Right.
Luke 09 would be my close.
Jack 2642, prison number, obviously. Where do you think we'll finish this season, Nathan?
On them performances, we'll be lucky to finish 10.
Is that what you think? Seriously?
On them performances we've seen so far, we're lucky to finish 10.
So we're asking you where you think we'll finish this season, and you're saying 10.
If we keep with those performances, we will be.
All right. Jacob?
So, I hate doing it at this stage of the season.
Sorry, it's going to run over this, but
we're going to get asked this every week, I think.
Yeah. 3rd.
At the minute, 5th or 6th. Okay, I'll go 5th at the moment, but that depends on second managers.
Didn't you say second last week? Oh,
I did, but if we continue that, we're not going to get second.
It's changed. Right, well, I'll stick with what I said last season. Champions, and we will be promoted by Easter. And I still think so. And I think
keep the faith.
I still say this doom and gloom, and it's 2 games and a point at Ipswich. Even though it was a shocking performance, we'll still come away with a point at Ipswich. So we'll be fine. So trust me, you'll be all right.
You got the score right last week.
Get slated now. Right, we'll have to. The questions we're going to have to maybe get in again next week. We'll have to get our timings better. So I do apologise about that. Thank you very much. Because we've got to do a little bit of a summing up here. Again, what we'd like to request, if there are any fans out there who would like to do some reporting for us at the home games, we still need 2 more people who could do that, and then we've got enough people outside the ground after the match finishes. We intend to try and get the fans' reactions when they come out after the game. So if you would like to volunteer to do that, and you could give up some of your time to sort of just hang around when everybody comes out of the ground, ask a few questions, and then we can get you onto our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to do that, drop us a mention in the comments below, and we'll get in touch with you. and do that. Also, we desperately need people for the away games. If you travel away, we'd like to do that. Obviously, me and Jacob can get some reactions when we're at Accrington on Tuesday. But if you do travel away regularly and you'd like to get us some footage to help us out, we'd love to hear from you for that. And I think that's about it. Anything else need bringing up, or would you like to say anything to the lovely people watching?
Lovely YouTube community.
I think I'll be a better manager than Jack Ross. That's all I'm going to say.
I want every single viewer to hold Nathan to that.
Make that stadium a fortress against Pompey next week. We're going to need it.
I think as a sort of a rallying call, if you can make it, if you can find the motivation at the moment, if you can make it, try and come along. I think we need to try and intimidate Portsmouth and just have with the lads.
Right, and I can't believe that Nathan hasn't swore all through this hour of the Sunday bunch. Listen, we just want to say, like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Do that. We've got individual channels. Nathan, myself, and Michael. Jacob will get one eventually. So what we'll do is we'll put a link in the description below, and you can click on that and subscribe to the individual channels as well. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Sunday Bunch, when we'll discuss what went on at Accrington and hopefully the 3 points we can get off Portsmouth. So we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
You,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Away the lads. Keep
ta-ra.